Hey everybody, this is Matt Pup with part 2 of my Supremacy 1914 playthrough. I've just started with the Ottoman Empire and I'm here to show you the first steps that you need to do when you start playing the game. So first things first, you're going to want to get familiar with some of the different viewing options that you have for the game. And then I'll jump right into the very first thing that you need to do when you start. So down here you have all these different viewing options. Your first option is the newspaper. It's called the Daily European. If you're in a role-playing type of game, this is where a lot of countries will go and they'll write articles. So you can click on write article, got your title here, and then your text. You can add images, what have you. So in role-playing types of games where you're pretending to actually be the country and build alliances and things like that, Daily European, uh, it tells you a lot. And later in the game, every day there'll be like a different stat up here to the right that becomes a little bit more important. It'll tell you things like the 10 nations with the biggest troop sizes. So that information can pop up every once in a while. So if you're thinking about attacking a nation, then you hear like you see up there, they have twice the amount that you do, and you might think twice about it. Down here, I'll point out things like buildings that are made. So it might pop up that a country's made the first factory, which is a huge deal because that's when you start building artillery. So that country's close to you. You might decide I got to take this country out now before they start outbuilding me with weapons. So that's your daily European. Next is your diplomacy button. This is where you can send private messages to different players. This is where the majority of your alliances are going to be formed. Uh, Trade contracts with other countries. So you can offer trades to other countries. I can send a message to Austria-Hungary who's like, are you interested in trading certain resources with me? They say yes. I send them a trade proposal, and that's how all those trades and relationships get made. Next is your resources tab. This, I'll come back to this tab because this isn't the first step you want to do, but this will show you all the resources that your country is producing. As you can see, as the Ottoman Empire, I build a lot of material resources right off the bat because I have a lot of double material resource regions, but I don't make a lot of food and I don't make a lot of energy. But this is where you're going to control the consumption. So if you move these up and down, you can control how much of those materials you consume. But your nation, so no matter where I slide this bar, my nation right now is always going to consume 113 food units per hour. Next is your stock market. This is where you can buy and sell different items. So if I have a surplus of something, like my building materials, and I wanted to sell them, I could put them in here for a certain price. Um, but then you can also see how much each costs. So if I wanted mine to sell quickly, if I wanted to sell lumber, I could put it in at 4.3 euros per unit. So it's more likely to sell quickly. Then I could also put in a buy. So if I wanted to buy grain, I could put in an order for, I don't want to buy it for higher than what it's already selling. I want somebody who has a lot and just wants to get rid of it quickly to sell it to me. So I would put it in for less than 4.1 euros per unit. But if you ever need to buy or sell your resources, this is where you're going to go. Uh, right now we're in the strategic view. This is how you move around your troops. And I'll go over that, how to move your troops a little bit with you later, but this is the main view of your game. I'll skip over economic view because that's the last one I want to go over. And then you have your espionage view. This is where you can hire spies. You can hire spies to defend against other spies in regions, or you can hire spies and place them in other countries' regions to do different things. They can reveal that nation's armies. They can halt production, extend production times. They could harm buildings, different things like that. And then finally, we have our economic view. Economic view looks a lot like our strategic view, but it's purely the economics of our country. And the very first thing you're going to want to do in this game is click on your economic view and come over here to this menu to the right. And the very first thing you want to do is build recruiting offices in each of your regions. Recruiting offices are what allow your regions to recruit the bare minimum of troops that it can recruit. If you don't build these regions right away, then you're going to get behind on the race to build your troops. And see right there, my video or the map kind of switched. For some reason, one of these regions in the Ottoman Empire, when you click on it, it will pop you up there to the most northwestern corner of the map. And it's been that way for months for whatever reason in this game. They haven't fixed it yet. But you're going to want to get these regions or these recruitment offices built. They only take 5 minutes to build. So, and they don't cost a lot of resources, but that's the first thing you want to get done. After that, you want to go to your resource page, and you kind of want to even out your resources to start off with. So you have main resources that you always consume, and you have kind of supplement resources that just help you from having to use those resources, your more important resources and other things, if that makes sense. So grain is your main food source. It's what your troops use to eat. So the more troops you have, the less grain you're going to produce because your troops are eating it. The more regions you have, the more less grain you're going to produce because your people's eating it. And then fish is the supplementary food item. It's so if you have more fish regions, you can raise your consumption of fish so that you save more grain. So what I always do to start out with is I raise my fish consumption up so that I have at least a slight positive grain production because grain's more important than fish. In the stock market, fish normally cost less than grain, and I'll buy fish up more and then just kind of adjust the consumption bar. Your materials are strictly just used to build buildings and weapons. Those recruitment offices cost like 250, 500 each of iron and lumber. These are the materials that are going to cost more in the stock market when the game starts out because people are just trying to build. While things like grain and oil and coal are less expensive. When you get down here, the energy, coal and oil are the types of energy that you actually use to build things, kind of like your grain. So coal's mostly used to build railroads, some of your weapons, and it's also the more railroads you have, the more coal your country is going to consume. And then oil is strictly used to build weapons, like your battleships and your rail guns and your artillery, things like that. So to start off the game, oil is normally pretty cheap, and coal's pretty cheap because nobody's using it yet. So I'll buy up oil and coal at the offset of the game because I know I'm going to need it later. And oil becomes very, very rare because there's only a few oil regions. So that's kind of one reason why Northern Africa is kind of strategic because it has more oil regions than the rest of the map. But then gas is your supplementary um, energy option. So what I do is I lower my oil all the way down so I consume as little oil as possible. And then I try to move my gas up so that at the very least my coal's positive. And then right now my country's pretty much set up the way I want it resource wise. And then I'm just going to wait for my recruitment offices to finish building. So that's it for now. We'll get back into kind of where I'm going to move my troops and the next buildings I'm going to build in part 3.